I think every relationship, no matter if it's the person you're sitting next to on the plane or the person at the coffee shop that served you a coffee or your podcast host, I think that there is value in all relationships.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Autism's podcast, where we highlight people pursuing their definition of, you guessed it, awesome. So buckle up and get ready for some more success story adventures and failures from Kentucky's tech and entrepreneur community. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning back into this episode of the Autism podcast. I think I have the quickest turnaround time to have a guest on. We're back. That's right. Back, baby, with Alli Trutman of Wicked Sheets, Wicked Technologies, 5 across October 2023 winner, and all the fun things. The Burl Arcade enthusiast and on the leaderboards of the pinball machine. And I don't have anything up my sleeve. But anyways, we're back with Alli. And so again, she crushed it on the last episode. We are not going to go into all of the details about her company, Wicked Technologies. That was in the last October 2023 5 Across recap. Would highly encourage you to hit pause, go back and check that episode out, and then join us for this episode. So today we're going to be talking about Alli's other company, Wicked Sheets, some of what she's accomplished as an entrepreneur, and some of the stuff that you just got to figure out as an entrepreneur. And I want to see how many times I can say entrepreneur in the same sentence. And also, Alli, we are really excited, me personally ecstatic, based on how you walked into our space yesterday when you were in town, that you're a part of the fellowship. So it's nice to have someone who's also high energy, in your face, loves people really well. I need a wing woman. So whenever I see you, I'm going to get full of energy. So that being said, we were together a week ago. What's new?
Oh, well, actually, in the life of an entrepreneur in a startup or, starting a new product, it's different every single day. And I was actually just commenting with one of my team members. She popped in my office and she's like, what are you working on today? I'm like, well, I'm getting ready to do a podcast and then we're going to have a finance call. And then this morning I had a meeting with the Masonic Homes of Kentucky. So we're going to, plan some more pilots with them. And it's just like there's something going on every day. And I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. I really wouldn't. But I got to go back to when I saw you yesterday. Okay. You weren't in the office when I was leaving Commerce Lexington, were you?
I was not.
Okay, I looked in the window and Kevin was kind of like waving and I couldn't make out. I think it was maybe Emily waving. And I did like the funniest walk up past the window like I was rowing a boat or something. And they're all like, oh my gosh, what is she doing? And then I look to my left and it's rush hour traffic in Lexington. And there are like 1,000 cars just lining up laughing at me. And I'm just like rowing a boat past the offices.
Well, that's just what we call Casual Tuesday here at Awesome Inc.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was hysterical and a little bit embarrassing. But yeah, I've been busy, very busy, still on the fundraising train, but hoping to close around the end of this month. So yesterday, actually, I did a pitch to the Bluegrass Angels, the BGA group, and that was just it was so fun, but it was such an honor because, a lot of entrepreneurs before me have always, they've pitched to BGA and gotten investments and, it's just it's an astute group of folks who have been very successful in their careers and just want to give back to the community. So you always feel like honored or humbled when you get to pitch to a group like that ask sophisticated questions. That's always so exciting for an entrepreneur.
Well, I will not be surprised to hear positive news when we talk next, which is probably going to be sometime next week, about what the BGA crew had for you in terms of feedback and insights to your company. And Alli, I know last time we mentioned the musical Wicked, and I must say you are pretty popular right now. So you're getting around town to meet all the entrepreneurs, shake some hands, kiss some babies. You're probably doing that since you're a mother yourself. But for our time together, I wanted to dive into some other details that people might not know until maybe they've met you the third or the fourth time. And I know your name has been floating around the Awesome Inc. team for a while because you've done some great work with Keith and Ben and talking about some of our different programs. But I also know you're a founder of 2 different companies. And we did not dive into the details of what Wicked Sheets is, what that product entails. And I'd love to hear some of the backstory if you could cover a bit more of, I believe it's your first company, Wicked Sheets, and what that, how you started there, some of that story, and then maybe how that propelled you then to Wicked Technologies.
Absolutely. So I started my career as an entrepreneur. I was a child psychologist before this. I think I mentioned that. I started my career as an entrepreneur when I was actually addressing a problem that I suffered myself, which was night sweats and hot flashes, due to an injury that I suffered from playing indoor soccer with the boys, and was bedridden and rehabilitating and experiencing significant night sweats. And, you know, when you're an athlete, you make sense of it and you say, like, I'm sweating because I exercise a lot, or I'm sweating because I've had triple sessions of soccer for the last 20 years of my life. So when I was sweating at night and rehabilitating from this surgery, and there was no activity during the day because I still was walking on crutches, I knew that there had to be something wrong. So like most women, if there's something wrong that impedes our ability to be productive during the day, we go and talk to the doctor. So I was really fortunate to have a doctor here locally that kind of looked at my hormones and my history and all that stuff, and ended up diagnosing me with hyperhidrosis. So hyperhidrosis, for those that don't know, is just excessive sweating for no medical reason. So I have the same amount of sweat glands as any other person that walks past me on the street. I just produce 3 or 4 times more sweat out of those glands. Now, some people are plagued with it that have sweaty palms, sweaty groins, sweaty feet. Mine is what they call ancillary or secondary hyperhidrosis. Mine is at night. So during the day, I might perspire or, you know, have sweaty armpits, but not to the extent that people that actually suffer from the primary hyperhidrosis, that can be a debilitating diagnosis. So mine comes at night when I'm like debriefing and de-stressing about all the things I've done, all the money we're raising, all the things that my kid ate today, like, you know, all that. And so growing up playing sports, I loved the way that Under Armour and Nike Dry Fit and Adidas Climate Cool worked. And I thought, why couldn't we put this on the bed? If we're sleeping like close to naked anyway, if you're hot and sweaty, you're certainly not wearing fleece pajama pants. So I looked and there was nothing on the market. So this was 2008, and I was 24, and I had to take a leave of absence from my therapist job working with kiddos because I was on crutches and couldn't walk. And if you know kids with autism, they like to be tickled and tackled and piggyback ridden and all the things. And I always wanted to do that. So I wasn't able to be at my full capacity. And it was kind of just like a natural next step into what do I want to do? What do I want to be when I grow up? So I hadn't dabbled in terms of entrepreneurism, if you will, because I went to a really small school in Southern Illinois. I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. I only knew one woman who owned a business, and it was like a McDonald's franchise. So it was very foreign to me to realize that I could become an entrepreneur, not just as a female, but like, oh, I went to school for child psychology and have this traditional degree. Are people going to take me seriously when I start a bed sheets company? But what I've found along the way is, so long as you understand your customers and you provide them a solution that is not already on the market, that's either faster or stronger or cheaper or smarter or more efficient, you have a product. And if you can sell it and be honest and genuine and understand your customers' needs, you're an entrepreneur. So I started Wicked Sheets. I started it in my one-bedroom apartment in Louisville, Kentucky. I was hiring sewers off of Craigslist. This is before there were Craigslist murderers. I'll tell you, I met a lot of people in random mall parking lots and coffee shops, and I wasn't afraid back then that they were going to murder me. Now I would likely not hire someone off of Craigslist. That's what Upwork is for. Yes. But we were really fortunate to meet. I had 3 sewers. I was cutting the fabric after my full-time job. I was also a personal trainer. So I was cutting the fabric on the floor in my one-bedroom apartment, driving it to sewers around town. They would sew the fabric Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would pick it up and ship it Tuesday, Thursday. We had kind of like a good thing going. And then when I started realizing that I had orders coming in, I had built a website. It was called sleepwicked.com. I had built a website, or not me. I actually bartered with a guy from the Louisville Zoo who is a web designer there for $300 and a set of sheets for his menopausal wife. And he built me a website, and people could go onto sleepwicked.com, print out a form, and mail me a check. When that check cleared, I would send them the sheets. And PayPal was probably just getting started, but I was way too small. I didn't have enough transactions, didn't have enough margin to pay merchant fees, things like that. So that was only 14 years ago. It sounds like it was 5 decades ago. Technology has increased light years since I started the business, right? Now AI could write my website and be a merchant processor and actually probably figure out how to sew sheets. Or actually, that would be great. I wonder if AI can help me figure out how to sew sheets faster.
Write that one down on some scratch paper. Maybe that's something you revisit at your 3 p.m. session today.
Yes, exactly. So that's how it started, and it became pretty popular because there was nothing on the market, and I loved to talk about it. And then I figured out that the best form of talking to your internet audience was blogging, and I started blogging about night sweats and sheets, and there was no other content out there. So I still have blogs that drive our organic traffic. We have right now, with no sheets in stock, we have 18,000 visitors to wickedsheets.com. So that is all based on organic blogs that I've written years and years ago. And I still continue to blog to this day about the things that we're facing. A lot of people want to just hear personal stories, but sometimes they want to hear kind of like my layman's version of medical conditions or medications that cause night sweats. So I've really spent a lot of time researching that and understanding why people need to sleep better and the importance of sleep. And insert Wicked Smart Pad. It turns out sweat's not the only thing waking people up. Incontinence is as well. And so that kind of is how I led myself to this path. And then obviously watching my grandmother suffer from incontinence-related bed sores, all because of excess moisture in the bed.
Yeah.
It's under this one happy family of what started as Wicked Sheets. We're now Wicked Technologies is our core company. And then we have these two product pillars that are Wicked Sheets and the Wicked Smart Pad. We actually have a third pillar, but it's like a kickstand. Okay. It's Wicked Little Sleepers.
A little kickstand?
I know, it's a little kickstand. So Wicked Little Sleepers are, our catchline is, or our tagline is, dribbles, drool, or sweat. Babies don't sleep when they're wet. And so we also have moisture wicking technology for our littlest sleepers to help baby and mommy get the sleep that they deserve too.
This is adorable. I can't wait to have kids and give them all the wicked stuff. Well, I don't know what adding some other products to your portfolio suite look like, but you could definitely have a wicked pillow, some wicked air wicking, moisture wicking pajamas. That's
some wicked wear.
Yeah, some wicked wear. That's it. Come on, girl.
It's like I've maybe been thinking about that for a while or something.
Maybe. It's actually probably that one sticky note on your board I can look at that's kind of flapping in the wind right now. Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you definitely have. Yes, I want some wicked wear. I'll just say that. I want some wicked wear. We can put the Autism logo on it. Yeah, that's wonderful. So, Alli,
we'll just run that past Brian and Keith. We'll get that all taken care of.
Cool.
As part of the fellowship.
I like that. Great. We'll get there. That can be part of the fellowship. So yeah. Alli, so speaking of going from Wicked Sheets to Wicked Technologies, Wicked Wear and the other lines coming through. I also hope that you write a jingle for the Little Wicked line. That is going to be,
oh my gosh,
that would be sweet. Oh, we'll work on that. That's an outside work conversation. But
yeah, this is what you and we were supposed to meet because you will help me write the jingle. You musical genius, you.
Okay. Well, I'm writing someone's podcast right now, so we can definitely. I'll send it to you later. We can talk about that afterwards. But
okay, cool.
I would love to hear from your perspective, because again, we have people that listen to this podcast. From being 18 in college to being 16, being a VC, we have a wide audience, and something that we don't always cover is what are the intrinsic things that we wrestle with. And I'd like to hear from you. What's been the most difficult part, or maybe the most difficult parts of being a founder of multiple companies?
So, when you're a small company, it just makes sense to wear all the hats and do all the things, and you just figure out how to make more time for all the things to get done because you can't afford more people.
Yep.
And I will say, intrinsically, I am a people person, but moreover, I'm a people pleaser. And so when I have to make hires or make hard decisions, make decisions for the business, really stepping outside of myself and being a business person outside of just being Alli is really challenging. And I like to say that I have a great team and great leadership qualities or management skills, but that's something that evolves constantly and is continuing to evolve. And adding Wicked Sheets was great in that we had core team of sewers and R&D and pattern makers and things like that. I'm having to exercise a whole different part of my brain when we hire folks with electrical engineering backgrounds and technical expertise, and to be the leader of a ship where you don't know all the experts that are rowing for you and you don't know how to speak their language. That's also challenging. So you're just ever evolving, ever changing to try and be the best leader that you can. And being a people pleaser and being a people person it's really tough to balance and manage sometimes, because I want to be like excited and welcome all the ideas, and then I have to also be the business person that's like, that actually doesn't make economical sense, and I'm a fiduciary for our shareholders, so I have to be the funnel that sometimes puts the kibosh on things that would be like otherwise exciting or make our team really jazzed up. So that is challenging. That is something I personally struggle with for sure. But I'm learning every day.
Hey, we're all learning. That's part of the fun of the ride of where we will arrive eventually. I've also never heard the word. Do you say kibosh?
Kibosh.
I've never heard that, but I like it. That's gonna go in my bag of tricks. I like that. Well,
okay,
Alli,
good.
you also mentioned you also said fiduciary. So you're throwing all these words at me. I like. Again, you're very savvy. This is fun. Something you said is that you kind of have to be the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde role, not obviously like good and evil, but the fun, exciting, enthusiastic visionary. Then, hey, let's bring it back to reality. Let's accomplish the task at hand. Noted this idea doesn't make sense. Something that you share with me, which is also very exciting, is that you were able to get FDA approval on one of your products. Can you share the 3 to 5 minute version, or even less? I'd imagine you probably have this well ironed out, of what all that entails and how do you go again from idea to ideating to we have a physical product. How do we scale? Then to, hey, how do we actually get this to the approval phase where this can be, mass produced? The customers we're trying to acquire that need this one, signature stamp, this one piece of approval before they become customers. How the heck do you figure all that out and make that happen?
Sure. Well, I think that's a great question. It's a big, fully loaded question, but I will tell you, so we are actually FDA registered.
Okay.
So FDA registered is slightly different than FDA approved. So registrations for FDA are those that are needed for companies that are 510K exempt. So 510K, for those that don't know, if you're about to sell a product before you go to market, so pre-market, you have to notify them that you're going to sell this product, because if there is some, bad reaction, maybe there's a rash, maybe it creates an electrical current that shocks someone, the FDA needs to be notified that you are going to start using this product, even if it's in pilot phase. So right now, in our pilots, we are labeled an investigational device, and it conforms to an FDA standard that is like 812.5 that just informs the user that this is an investigational device. It does have a wired component. It might have a fall risk because of the result of that wire being, tucked under the bed. We just have to list all that stuff out. But all the while, we're currently registered with the FDA. We reached out to the NIH, who has funded our grant, and they hooked us up with some FDA representatives and reimbursement strategists. And so they scheduled an hour-long meeting with me. I had to send them our tech architecture. I had to send them the spec sheet. I had to send them every detail about what the product is currently and what we hope the product will become in the future. So even if it's something that is in that ideation stage, right, I have to disclose that to them, because they're like, right now, you sound like a class 1, but if you add this component, you might be a class 2. And it is very expensive to make that mistake early on. So I advise anybody that's playing in a space that's going to sell directly into healthcare to start researching products that are like yours in that space and look exactly what their classifications are. So are they a class 1 and were they 510K exempt? Are they a class 2 and they can still be exempt, or did they then have to file? Because the FDA is no joke. If you make a mistake, it is expensive, and they can pull your products right off of the market, and then you're ruined. So we were really, really fortunate to have gotten this meeting set up where we talked to an actual FDA medical device doctor who worked specifically on med devices that were between class 1 and class 2 and exempt from pre-market. So he looked at all of our technology, looked at our use cases, and then in my interview with him, I had to tell him, like, here's what I'm thinking. And he went through the pros and cons and said, like, no, firmly, we're going to plant your flag here, and here is exactly how you have to follow suit. Now, I was very lucky to have that in-person meeting. You can find out all this information online as well. The FDA website is incredibly full of resources. You can also set up or beg for a meeting with the FDA. Sometimes, their wait times are usually 70 days though. So if you're in startup world and you're building something, a lot of times you don't have time to wait 70 days. So if you can hook up with a consultant or a consultant agency, group, firm, whatever it is, that is already linked in, which is what we did. We ended up going the consultant route because it was far easier and more time and cost effective for us to say, these guys are experts. We're going to send them the letter that we got from the FDA. We're going to send them all of our architecture, and we're going to operate under the assumption that what we heard from this gentleman is true and accurate. And what is the suit that we need to follow now. And so from that, we register, we send an email. There are 2 different bodies you send emails to. There's DICE and I don't remember the other acronym. And then you also set up a quality management system. So regardless of what type of medical device classification, you need to have some sort of quality management system, because if there is an issue down the road, you need to make sure that you know exactly where that issue occurred. Was it in your supply chain? Was it at your actual manufacturing facility? Was it in the bolt of fabric that you used in that device? Because you have to have that documented. And the more information you know about what where that batch was made, by whom, all that, the easier it is if you were to get an audit. Now, hopefully, we're in the state of Kentucky. They don't typically audit a lot of medical device companies. California gets hit constantly. Hopefully, we don't have an audit. But if you have an audit and you're basically caught with your pants down, they're not going to say like, oh, just pull them up. We'll come back in 2 weeks. Get it together, right? They're going to say, shut it down. So this was stuff not only that I learned from like horror stories on the internet, but anybody that's in medical device, they're like, do you have your FDA regulatory strategy buttoned up? And, ask the right questions. Do you know who to talk to? So it's a lot of research. It's knowing the right people, asking the right questions. And then once you feel solidified, you need to go down that path for sure.
So you passed the test. I said FDA approved intentionally, and I'm glad you caught that and you corrected it. So you definitely know your stuff.
Good. I love that.
Something off the cuff, something you said, we hear a lot in life that, hey, about the people you know, what they think of you, do they like you? In this sense, how the heck did you come about meeting the right people? So
in our 20 minutes ago in the start of our conversation, I said, I'm a people person. I think every relationship, no matter if it's the person you're sitting next to on the plane or the person at the coffee shop that served you a coffee or your server at a restaurant or your podcast host, I think that there is value in all relationships. And I have been extremely fortunate to just be in places where I've met folks who randomly have like an FDA background. I literally was sitting at a local brewery having a beer with my friend, and she knew a guy that was riding bikes, and he came by and we hit it off. We were talking about healthcare and stuff like that. He gives me his card. He works for the FDA. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I wasn't yet down that path, but I knew I'm meeting this guy for a reason, right? I'm meeting this guy for a reason. So, and then with the NIH, I will tell anybody who has been awarded grant money, they have tons of opportunities that they will throw your way in effort to help you, because they want to see you be successful. Take advantage of every single opportunity, because you have no idea who you're going to meet or how they're going to help you in the future. So being a people person or an extrovert has really helped me know the right people. And being in the sheet business, it afforded me some credibility to like say, I'm not, this isn't my first rodeo. I know what I'm talking about. And that often helps when you're having those conversations. I'm not saying that startup founders who have never done this before won't get those same invitations, but I could really go in knowing my stuff, and their time is very, very valuable. So if you can come in with a list of questions or send it to them beforehand and say, this is my objective, here are my 3 questions, can you help me? They're a lot more likely to help you do that.
Right on. That was so good. Gosh, again,
good.
Such a helpful reminder of, doesn't matter if you're at the grocery store, on an airplane. I mean, I've met some really cool people on airplanes that we still keep in touch just by saying, hey, nice pair of shoes, or you hold the door from somebody. So it's good to hear that. And that's something that we stress a lot to every intern, every college group that we speak with, every fellowship company. People are valuable. You never know where a relationship can take you. So it's cool to hear you say that. Someone I met, probably on a weekend grabbing a beer, ended up being one of the main connections I had that helped us get our FDA regulatory stuff taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. Isn't it strange? I get this from my mom. She loves to meet people. So I'm blessed with the gift of gab that comes from my mama.
It comes from my dad. So two peas in a pod here.
Oh, yeah.
On the last episode, when we were discussing, and also I think you also mentioned it briefly when you made your pitcher and fellowship demo day, that you are raising around. So everyone I have met that is an entrepreneur, that it's something that they have some concerns, maybe some worry with trying to do. Not always easier said than done, but it is something that once you get going, you figure things out along the way. How the heck have you been able to accomplish that based on doing everything with Wicked Sheets, then with Wicked Technologies, and then going through all this FDA process, and then you realize, oh, we got to raise a round. Then we're going through this accelerator program. How do you figure things out and prioritize something as valuable as raising a round to get some runway for your company?
So fundraising has become one of my, I'd say, favorite jobs in the company, to be totally honest. And I know there will be a lot of people listening and they're going, no way, it's awful, it's exhausting, right? Yeah. But I have grown to love it because in my first iteration of Wicked Sheets, I raised, a little under $1 million in the life of the business, something like that. But I was always feeling cash strapped or undercapitalized. It was a lot harder to raise money for a sheets business that was soft goods manufacturing. And it was my first startup. So a lot harder to get funds because, it's just a very cash intensive business. Mm-hmm. When you couple soft goods with technology and software and recurring revenue, I can tell a lot more, sexy story, if you will, because it makes sense, right? There's a use case, there's a customer base, I already have traction, and I'm checking the boxes of the things that investors actually want to hear. And I learned that from raising money from Wicked Sheets. So in terms of the time suck, I will say this is truly a numbers game. Fundraising is a numbers game. You fill your pipeline with anybody and everybody. Actually, fill your spreadsheet. Yeah, fill your spreadsheet with anybody and everybody who's ever mentioned that they're interested, and say, can I take you to coffee, or can we schedule a call? Coffees are a little bit harder to do because it does take more time, right? Mm-hmm. And scheduling commitments. But if you can get a call and just say, hey, I'd love to tell you what I'm doing right now. You might not be an investor, but maybe I could pick your brain, and they might lead you to the next person and the next person. But fundraising is truly a numbers game. Fill the spreadsheet or the pipeline with all those names, and then you just have to start going through the list. And then after the call, I would jot a note down, and I would put a ranking system of not interested, possibly interested, in negotiations, in discussions, close the deal, whatever. And that way you can start building your true pipeline. And when you go to have conversations with the next investor, you say, right now I'm in discussions with 4 interested parties, and I think that equates to, $450,000. So actually being able to quantify the interest is very juicy and exciting for investors. It's not a lot of times people say it's a psychological tactic, and people say, like, go in and tell them you've oversubscribed your rounds. That also is a psychological tactic to fundraising, and it works in a lot of cases. I'm just not one of those people. I am as honest as they come. I'm like, listen, we've only raised $850K. I want to close this round at the end of November because I already know how I'm spending the money and the day it needs to go out the door. And I think the more succinct and the more confident you are in your answers is gonna be an easier selling point. So I've grown to love fundraising because I now have listened to what the investors are asking, and I know how to cut them to the chase, right? To say, like, I don't want to waste your time. Your time is valuable, and it is so valuable. They're hearing hundreds of thousands of pitches a year. So for me to get 30 minutes of their time, I got to say, why is this deal exciting? Why can you help me? Right now it's strategy play all day for us. We want to be surrounded by people that are excited about the space, are well connected, and might have, some introductions to make for potential exits. So it is strategy, fill the pipeline. It's a numbers game. Listen, be succinct, and try and have all your ducks in a row before you even ask them to coffee. Don't just show up and be like, so what would you do? They don't want that. They want to know how they can help. So that's my best advice, but it is time consuming, and I'm stretched very, very thin right now. And you just have to also know that there's an end date to that too. And that, I think, helps get through some of the sucky times.
Clear, concise, compelling, confident. Alli's advice for fundraising.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's great. Well, Alli, I know, again, you're stretched thin. We have a few minutes left, and I appreciate you carving out some time. We're really excited. And I've said that a handful of times, and I mean it. You're a part of the fellowship. You're one of these wonderful companies that are from Kentucky. You're making a difference. You're creating Kentucky-based jobs, and you're making Kentucky a better state for people to live and work. It's great. We're thankful that we have people like you that are really the trailblazers. You're making a way. you're also part of our accelerator program. And so we're excited to see your growth and what comes of Wicked Technologies over the coming year. What are a couple of things that were, either attractive for you to want to apply? And what are a couple of things that you're hoping to get out, to receive, to gain, whatever word you want to use, from now until you finish in about a year?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I love talking about it because I had some friends that had gone through the fellowship program before, and their stories and benefits that they talked about from being a part of it were always so attractive to me. And I always thought, I'm too small of a company, or I'm a solo founder. What benefit can I add to the rest of the group that are, maybe they have larger teams? So I kind of had like this chip on my shoulder, like, oh, I wouldn't be a good fit because what value can I add? I would feel like more of a taker in that situation. And then I had my call with Keith after I applied, and he really flipped that on its head for me. It's really more about like the camaraderie and truly the fellowship of being with other people who are in similar situations, and how much we can learn and share resources together to make those fundraising hurdles shorter or easier, to make those do you have a data scientist that you know of that you trust asks a lot faster and easier. So I'm really excited because my cohort in particular, I knew a handful of the people in it, but not at this level. So a deeper dive into a fellow entrepreneur buddy. One of my first bosses in the autism world, Mandy Ralston from Non-Binary Solutions. She was one of my first bosses when I was becoming a therapist for kids with autism. So we know each other as co-entrepreneurs now, as opposed to this like hierarchy that she was my boss, and now I can like just call her Mandy instead of Miss Ralston. No, she would laugh. I never had to call her Miss Ralston, that's for sure. But it's getting to know a group who are going through similar struggles, but we can learn from each other, commiserate, celebrate, all of the things, and it shortens the suck. I like to call it that these days. But also what you guys offer in terms of your like support from software and some of the branding and PR, some of the stuff that people just don't right now in my situation don't have time to do or resources to allocate to. You guys are helping us kind of fill those gaps and helping us tell our story, especially when you're fundraising. That is the best thing you can ask for. So I truly appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate all the people I've met who are just the biggest cheerleaders when sometimes you need that. When you walk into a room, you're like, oh man, this has just been a tough day. And you feel like the warmth and excitement when you walk into the room. So I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to see what our cohort can bring to Awesome Inc.
I asked you a question about you, and it's really impressive that you made it about the other people. So again, like that just goes to show why you are a kick-butt entrepreneur. You care. So again, I'm excited to see how your company grows. Mandy, you mentioned, wonderful, got a great sense of humor. We were talking the other day, and that is pretty cool. The fact that someone who was a former employer, now you guys are co-entrepreneurs. So that's pretty special.
Yeah, it's great. Our cohort is awesome. I mean, we are so lucky. I know the other ones are great too, but we are really lucky.
Yeah, but this one is always special too. So Alli, we're gonna wrap up here. Same way to wrap up as we did last time. People who are listening, how can they support local business? Where can they go to find more about Wicked Technologies, become a potential customer, maybe join the sewing club out back, if you need some extra hands? That was a stretch. That was so bad.
No, the sewing club. Hey, we actually have job postings up right now for contract manufacturing for like anybody that has sewing expertise, because we have these pilots that are we're so fortunate that people want to pilot with us, but we only have bandwidth so far until we get into scalable manufacturing. So more hands. If you have a sewing background or an electrical engineering background and you want some like contract hours, that would be great. My email address is alli@wickedsheets.com. But if you want to learn more about the pad or sign up for a pilot or learn more about what we're doing with the Wicked Smart Pad, you can go to wickedsmartpad.com, and the contact us button will take you straight into my inbox.
Boop. That was perfect. Alli, succinct as always. So if you're listening, make sure you head over to @AwesomeIncLex on all of our socials to find more wonderful stories of entrepreneurs like Alli who are making an impact. And to keep up with the Wicked theme, signing off, I'm Fierro. My guest was Elphaba, and we are excited to see. That was good. Excited to see you.
You were saving that one. I love it.
It actually just popped up in my head. But again, thanks for listening. Alli, you're wonderful. And I have a strong feeling we'll be talking here very soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. Bye, Garrett.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Awesoming's podcast. And another quick thank you to Lee Rosevear and a few members from our community who provide the music that you hear in this show. Lastly, give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. Or even better, come on down to our space. Come be a part of our community and get plugged in, and let's start something awesome together. You guys rock, and we'll see you next time.